Hey, all, Pastor Emil here with Tuesday Tunes. Hope you got a chance to see the post I put up a little bit earlier with a prayer, Bible passage, a link to the song Who You Are from Unspoken. Thanks to Lori for giving me a great suggestion. She actually gave it to me a long time ago, but I've been chewing on this song a little bit since then because there's so much here. I'm actually a little hesitant to go into all of it because I think I could go on and on and on and on about all this. But maybe do a podcast or something about it, talk a little bit more in depth about it. But we're going to give it a go now. We're going to see what we can do. There's so much here, we can definitely do something. All right, so starts out with some oohs and ahs here at the beginning. And then the first verse here, I know that look you're giving, like you've got something to prove, 'cause I have walked for miles and miles in that same pair of shoes. You refuse forgiveness like it's something to be earned. Sometimes pain's the only way that we can learn. Wow, a lot just in that first verse all by itself. I don't know if you ever looked in someone's eyes. You see that look that they've got something to prove. They're not willing to allow somebody else to do something for them. They're not willing to admit that they're incapable of doing whatever it is. They've got something to prove, right? And they're not going to let you help them. They're not going to let anyone help them. And we've all been there, right? I think we've all been there for sure. But then he brings it into this idea of forgiveness. And, I think that's really profound. I think as Christians, we underestimate just how difficult it is for people, human beings, much less Americans, to admit that they are going to take something for free. That something that is just a handout, right, is something that they will stoop so low to accept. And that's the way they look at it. That's the way a lot of people look at what is offered in Jesus, the forgiveness that is offered in Jesus. We are all by nature self-righteous beings. By nature, we want to earn things. We want to be able to say at the end of the day, look at what I did. Look at what I accomplished. See what I did and how that makes me better than these people. And so forgiveness, grace, is actually a threat to our way of life as human beings. We don't like not being able to rank ourselves and to pat ourselves on the back and feel better about who we are and look down on other people. We're constantly looking for ways to build ourselves up, to puff ourselves up, to find a sense of who we are, to find an identity that we can hang on to, that'll be sturdy, that'll withstand some of the difficulties of life. And so we refuse forgiveness like it's something to be earned, right? Because, I didn't earn it yet. I don't want it. I don't want a handout. No, that's not for me. I've had so many people say things to me like, I'll be back in church as soon as I clean up my life. As if you only get forgiveness once you've done everything you need to do to be all cleaned up. I mean, what's the point of forgiveness then, really? Right? Wow. But that's how people are. That's why people don't come to church. We have given off this vibe that that's what it's about. And like I said, people are already wired that way. So if people are already wired that way, we don't even have to give off the vibe. I mean, we don't have to say much. We can just do just a teeny tiny bit. Look down on them just a little bit. And human beings in general, our egos are so fragile that they're gone, never to come back again. The message of the church has to be overwhelmingly love and acceptance free from judgment. Hey, you're a disaster, and so am I. Right? See, because that's part of the problem with the church. The church, we all act like we've got our act together. I mean, I had this conversation today. Lori, she suggested this song. We had a great conversation about this song before we before this, and we were talking about how even we wonder. I saw something. I should post this here too. Jim Gaffigan. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's a comedian. He's an actor. Funny guy. He's a Christian, and he was on Stephen Colbert. Somebody, TJ, if you're out there, sent me this video when he's sitting down with Stephen Colbert, and he says something like, yes, I always have this fear that one day I'm going to walk into church and they're going to find out that I'm a monster, and they're going to say, no, we figured out the monster you really are, and you're not welcome here. I mean, we are like that, and we're part of the club. What about the people that aren't part of the club? Right? Goodness gracious, we have to work so hard and focus so much on the fact that there is absolutely nothing that we do, nothing that we can or should require of anyone else. There's no sin that they're going to come in with that is worse than anything any of us have ever done. We're all guilty. We're all full of all kinds of garbage. We have all kinds of reason to be ashamed of ourselves and to feel guilty and all that kind of stuff. And yet, Jesus welcomes us and loves us right where we are. And Jesus did everything necessary for us to be welcomed back into the presence of God. No matter how holy He is and how unholy we are, with Jesus, by the power of Jesus, by the blood of Jesus, we are able to be in. We are able to be part of the club, part of the party, part of all the joys and bliss of eternity in God's presence. And so, we're still not even done with the first verse yet. This is what I was talking about. There's so much here, and I don't want to miss any of it. This last line, sometimes pain's the only way that we can learn. I remember watching something on the news or some kind of Christian news organization that did an interview of a guy who was like involved in gangs and stuff, really bad dude, and he's telling his story about how he became a Christian, how he gave his life to Christ, and how that transformed him, and how now he's doing ministry in the inner cities among gang members, right? He's got a ministry to people in gangs, ministry to gangs. So, in this news story, his testimony, I guess, involved him going to jail. And he was telling the story, and it was something like, he went to jail, he called his mom, and he's like, Ma, stop praying for me. Every time, were you praying for me again? Every time you start praying for me, I wind up in jail. Stop it. It was actually kind of hilarious. But the point is that sometimes what it really takes to knock some sense into us and to help us recognize that we can't do it is for everything we think we've got to our credit, to pad our resume, everything that we think is so important to build our life on, sometimes all those things have to come crashing down for us to go, oh, that's right, I can't do anything. I have literally nothing. Help me, Jesus. And I know I've seen that in my own life where the more suffering I endured, the more I appreciated what I had in Jesus. The more I appreciated grace and mercy and forgiveness apart from anything that I could ever possibly do. The more I realized that actually I was only serving God and doing things for God and loving God because of what I thought I was getting out of it. And as soon as what I thought was part of the deal wasn't part of the deal anymore, I had to actually come to grips with that, come to terms with the fact that maybe I was only really in this for what I thought I could get out of it. Maybe I was still really engaged in this self-salvation project. Like, I wanted to have a wonderful resume to present to God and say, see all the stuff I'm doing for you? Make sure my life goes well. Okay, that's your part of the bargain. My part of the bargain is to do all this stuff for you. You make sure you make my life go smoothly, okay? And then in those moments, I mean, I don't know about you, but do you like people that only like you when you do stuff for them? Is that real love? Does that feel like a real relationship? Sometimes pain is the only thing that draws us to God just for God. To recognize that what he's done for us in Jesus is so incredible and so amazing. There's nothing we can bring to that at all. And we just let him have us as we are. And we just receive what he has for us and appreciate that and appreciate him for who he is. True definition of being humble right there is losing it all when you think you have it all figured out. Yeah, that's definitely a moment of humbling, and God has done that to me many, many times. All right, so sometimes pain's the only way that we can learn, and then the chorus here is fantastic. You can never fall too hard, so fast, so far that you can't get back when you're lost. Where you are is never too late, so bad, so much that you can't change who you are. You can change who you are. So you can never fall too hard. You can never go so far, so fast, get so lost that you're beyond God. So far, so fast, so lost that you're beyond Jesus. Because if we really get this right, that this is entirely apart from us, this is a gift from God, right? If that's true, then there's no place you can find yourself in that is a place that God won't be there with you, won't be there for you, won't be trying to strengthen you, sustain you, and draw you to him. Okay? There's never a place that you can go that you can't turn to God. This is what upset everybody about Jesus. Jesus was letting everyone in. Jesus was looking at the religious people, the church people, people like some of you, people like me, and Jesus was saying, you think you're so special, don't you? You think you come to church all the time, you do all these churchy things, you do these good things in front of other people to make yourself look good, and you think that you are earning my love. You think that you are earning a place in my family, in my kingdom. No, you can't earn it. And then Jesus proved it by going out to people that were so bad, in their eyes at least, that they could never be in. And Jesus said, hey, you're in too. And that is when it exposed the fact that the people that were in, the church people, the religious people, it exposed the fact that they were really only ever in it for what they thought they were getting out of God. They were never in it for him. They really thought that forgiveness and salvation and all the things that God had, those things were really to be earned. And I think more and more the Christian church is being exposed as an organization or as organizations that really, really only care about people that are well behaved. And I think Jesus would be pretty disappointed in most of us. I know he's been disappointed in me. And I've gotten smacked in the head so hard, so many times. I don't think I can forget it now. But let's hope I can't forget, because I don't want to get smacked in the head again. I really don't want to get smacked in the head again. It's got nothing to do with you or me or any of our fancy religious stuff or any of our special worship things. Or it is entirely the work of God in Christ and nothing else, absolutely nothing else. And that means that anyone with any sin, no matter how far they've fallen, is ready to be welcomed by Jesus, by God, and should also be ready to be welcomed by you, by me, by anyone in any church, anywhere, if we have any hope of being True churches truly founded on the grace of God in Jesus Christ. Next verse here. You believe in freedom, but you don't know how to choose. You got to step out of your feelings that you're so afraid to lose. And every day you put your feet on the floor. You got to walk through the door. It's never going to be easy, but it's all worth fighting for. So this idea of freedom, oh goodness. We have people in America that are very obsessed with freedom. And while I have a deep appreciation for living in a free country and the freedoms that we enjoy and the Bill of Rights and every single one of those amendments, and that's not biblical freedom. Freedom is not, I can do whatever you want. You can't tell me what to do ever. That's not freedom. That is actually sin. That is literally the heart of sin. That is what Adam and Eve said to God in the garden. They said, you want me to eat from any tree except that one? This is a free country. I can do whatever I want. Who's put you in charge? Who said I could? The heart of sin was a desire to have no restrictions. Was a desire to say, no one can tell me what to do. Was a desire to say, I don't want to be inconvenienced. I don't want to have any problems, anything in my way stopping me, preventing me from doing whatever I want, no matter what it is. And yet our culture has enshrined freedom. And this is not like a politically left issue or politically right. This is all of us. This is literally every single person in this country. Right? It just shows up in different ways, right? Like, you can't tell me what to do. You can't tell me who I can have sex with. You can't tell me who I can marry, right? You can't tell me the government can't give me any regulations. Or it's all over the place. It's all over the place. But Jesus says that anyone who sins is a slave to sin. And if we know the truth will set us free. And that grace was given to us for freedom. In Galatians, he talks about freedom. It's for freedom that Christ set us free. And then he begins to tell us all about the fruits of the Spirit at work in us. And so freedom is not doing whatever you want, whenever you want, wherever you want. Freedom is finally being able to recognize just the absolute depths of sin in your heart that are propelling me into that direction. It's like, no, I don't want any restrictions whatsoever. I'm not going to be inconvenienced for anyone else whatsoever. Freedom is finally being able to recognize it and beginning to engage in battle with our sinful flesh. To finally engage in this wrestling between the sinner within us and the saint within us. Because if we don't have forgiveness, if we don't have Jesus, if we don't have salvation, well, what does it matter? We just go about our life and we just do what we want to do. There's no struggle there. It doesn't matter. But as soon as we come to Jesus, as soon as we receive forgiveness, as soon as we start to recognize just how much sin has captured our hearts, our minds, and our lives, that's when we go, oh, goodness gracious, you love me, God? You sent Jesus to die for me? Oh, man, I don't want to be like that anymore. And that's where the struggle begins. And that is true freedom. True freedom is being able to say no to what our sinful flesh is encouraging us to do. And our sinful flesh actually operating back, if you go back to that first verse of the song here, operating in all these ways that we're trying to prove ourselves, right? All these things that we think are so important, right? Looking beautiful and and getting the right person to be attracted to us and to love us, to have the perfect spouse, to have the perfect kids, to live up to our parents' expectations, to live up to the expectations of our peers in a particular profession, to reach the top of our field, whatever it may be, to have incredible success in business, to have a bank account that is just at a level that we feel we'll never have to worry again, and we can brag about it to other people, fund a lifestyle that just makes us feel good, right? All of these things are things that lead us ultimately to sin, because we will do whatever we need to get those things, because we think those things are the keys to life. And freedom is finally being able to say, no, none of that matters. All I need, I have in Jesus. So here we go with the chorus again. You can never fall too hard, so fast, so far that you can't get back. When you're lost, where you are is never too late, so bad, so much that you can't change who you are. Right? So once you realize who you are inside, once you realize the depths of sin in your own heart, it's like, I mean, this happens pretty regularly for me, where I'm just like, oh, I don't want to be this way anymore. Why am I like this? And then, of course, it helps us to engage in that battle now. But one of the things I struggled with here in this song is this idea that you can change who you are. Probably because I'm Lutheran, and I've been very well indoctrinated by the denomination that I'm a part of. And a lot of it is very, very, very good. But I will say that when you talk to most people, they don't get the finer points of theology that we talk about and discuss and argue over and try to uphold at all cost. People just want to be able to find freedom and find change in their lives, and I think we can just say, hey, you can change. Life can be different. You can find freedom. But as we get further here, we're going to see that I don't think they mean it the way that, theologically astute people like me would get offended. So there's a bridge here. So let the ashes fall wherever they land. Come back from wherever you've been to the foot of the cross, to the feet of Jesus, the feet of Jesus. So a lot of times, like in verse 1 there, there's pain. That's the only way that we can learn. And in some sense, the only way we get back to Jesus is through that pain, and then ultimately just giving up on something and just letting our lives burn to the ground, letting whatever our hopes and dreams we thought were so important just come crashing down. And so he's just saying, let the ashes fall wherever they land, right? Been wrong, been on the wrong path, made a mess of my life. I built my life on sand. I didn't build my life on the rock of Christ, the rock of Jesus. So I'm just going to let this disaster be. And whatever happens, happens. I'm going to come back from where I've been to the foot of the cross, because at the foot of the cross, that's where we see all that we were striving for, all that we were trying to prove, all that we were trying to earn, the forgiveness that we were trying to extort out of God was never necessary. All we had to do was recognize our need, recognize how desperate we were, how helpless we were, and sit there at the foot of the cross and just weep with Mary at the foot of the cross, weep with the disciples at what sin had done, and receive the blessing that is from God through Jesus. And then, of course, the chorus again, you can never fall too hard, so fast, so far that you can't get back. When you're lost, where you are is never too late, so bad, so much that you can't change at the foot of the cross. You can change who you are at the foot of the cross. So, brothers and sisters, this is not something that we just do once and then never again. This is something that we do daily. change is going to be ongoing, and we will never get to a point where we don't need to do this. We may get to a point that we're not doing it as often. It's not as painful. It's not as much of a battle to get back there and to recognize it and to confess our sin and to come to the foot of the cross and recognize our helplessness. But we got to do it pretty regularly. I mean, it takes a few moments. Like, I walk out of church and I'm already getting upset. I'm already trying to strive once again. It's a constant reminder. And so constantly coming back to the foot of the cross, sitting at the feet of Jesus, and recognizing I've got nothing. Everything I have is his. There's nothing I deserve. I say this all the time. People say, hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm better than I deserve. How are you? Right? Because that's a helpful way for me to remind myself that there's nothing I deserve and everything I got, that's all gravy, right? Every breath I take, every day I wake up in the morning, man, that's more than I deserve. And it's really been helpful for me. And it brings me back to the foot of the cross, recognizing what Jesus went through. He didn't deserve that. And he got it in my place. And for those of you that may not be Christian, may not be churchgoers, don't let the fact that we, church people, are so caught up in this deter you from Jesus, because Jesus is way bigger than the church. Jesus is way bigger than any particular church. Jesus loves you right where you are. There's no way you could ever fall too far or wander too far or be so far gone that he doesn't love you, that he's not with you. I mean, John 4, the woman at the well, she comes out, Jesus asks for a drink, and they have this banter for a little bit, and then he says to her, go call your husband, and she says, I have no husband. And he says, you're right in saying you have no husband. You've had 5 husbands, and the man you're with now is not your husband, right? And she's out there in the heat of the day when no one else is around because they know she's this scandalous woman, right? No one wants anything to do with her. She is too far gone in the eyes of the religious people, in the eyes of the community. But Jesus says she's not. Jesus talks to her. Jesus engages her. Jesus loves her. So I hope that message sinks in for you. I hope it sinks in for us as church people. It's a harder message for us because we think we got stuff to bring and we don't have anything to bring to the table still. And the equality of us with the woman at the well, and the women at the well type people, that's offensive to us because we got nice shiny lives, right? We got nice shiny lives. We got all kinds of good things that we can show. Hey, everybody, look at our nice house and our nice family, and look at all the pictures we put on Facebook. Isn't everything wonderful? Guys, we're all disasters. We're all disasters. We all need Jesus. We all need forgiveness. We all need mercy. We all need grace. So let's share a little bit of grace with the people God has placed around us. Let's remember this song. Rock out to it. I've played it like 15 times today. It's a great song. And let the ideas and thoughts sink in. And build your life on Jesus, not on anything else. All right. God bless you. Good to be with you. Hope to catch up with you again soon. See y'all.